Hello everybody, my name is Pixel and welcome to the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel. Today we are going to be taking a look at some gameplay and the performance of Borderlands 3 running on the Sapphire Pulse RX 5700 at 1440p using some optimized settings which are close to the Ultra Graphics preset. Now I'm going to leave the graphical settings that we used up on screen now for a few seconds so you can copy these down for yourselves if you are using a 5700 or maybe even a 5700 XT. I will also be leaving a full benchmark run of these settings at the end of the video because just like Gears 5, Borderlands 3 has a fairly robust benchmarking utility. I also want to point out that we did try running the game on both DirectX 11 and DirectX 12, and while both offered fairly similar performance, we did notice that there were quite a few stutters while using DirectX 12, so the majority of this video is going to be using DirectX 11, but I will also add a DirectX 12 benchmark towards the end of the video. But anyway, I would like to quickly go over why we didn't go for the full fat ultra settings here. Well, basically it's pretty simple because there are 3 settings available in the options menu which really don't seem to balance out when it comes to performance versus the quality uplift you get from setting them. These are the Volumetric Fog setting, the Screen Space Reflection setting, and the Material Complexity settings. However, I do want to point out that the Volumetric Fog setting is by far the biggest performance hog for the smallest uplift in visual quality. Simply by dropping from Ultra to High, we were looking at around a 20% increase in performance in certain areas, and by going down from Ultra to Medium, that was around 30%. Now, I haven't gone around the maps looking for visual differences between Ultra and Medium, but what I can tell you is that Medium looks pretty decent. I have not really noticed any issues with it. I actually want to let you all know now that I am actually considering making a performance optimizations video for Borderlands 3 because this is one of those games which, if you lower the settings, you get a massive increase in performance and you don't really see that much of a visual hit, at least not until you get down to like the lower settings. This is most likely due to the art style used, but I think it's fairly interesting and something that is definitely worth taking a look at. But anyway, let's take a quick look at the game itself. The first thing that jumped out to me when I booted up the game was how they had managed to keep the art style from Borderlands 1 and 2 intact while making a jump over to PBR materials. This gives the metal a really unique look when combined with the art style. While this is fairly obvious on most metallic objects, I think it's the guns that really get the brunt of the uplift here. This is going to be especially true if you are lucky enough to be able to play the game on a 5700 series GPU and take advantage of AMD FidelityFX, which gives the metal a really nice gritty look to it. However, it's worth pointing out that it's not just the metal surfaces which benefit from AMD's FidelityFX. I actually found that most surfaces did see at least some sort of uplift by having this feature enabled, so much so that I don't think I could go back and play with this disabled anymore. Now, while I'm giving a lot of credit to FidelityFX, which is awesome, and also to the PBR materials which give everything a nice look to it, none of this would matter if it wasn't for the lighting. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I understand how all this stuff works on an engine level, but what I can tell you is that the lighting just feels full, if that makes any sense. It interacts with the fog really well, the shadows are really nice and detailed without being overly sharp, and overall, it just looks phenomenal. Interestingly, Gears 5 released the other day as well, and that is also on the Unreal Engine, and it had the same kind of uplift in lighting that we haven't seen from the Unreal Engine before. Now, I assumed that this was going to be the Gears developers actually working on their own lighting solution, but with this looking very similar, I'm wondering if Epic have actually increased the lighting capabilities of the Unreal Engine, because right now, the lighting in Unreal is looking very similar to what we see in the most recent iterations of id Tech. In fact, I would even go as far to say that Borderlands 3 reminds me an awful lot of Wolfenstein 2 in terms of both the feel and the visuals, obviously minus the whole 2D hand-drawn thing. Which for me at least is a massive positive, as I did indeed play quite a lot of Borderlands 1 and 2, but I never managed to really fall in love with the combat. I always found it to be just a little bit too bullet spongy, and while there is a lot of bullet spongy enemies in Borderlands 3, the gunplay just feels better overall with more accurate weapons which give much better feedback. Not to mention the movement system also appears to have been overhauled, and it now just feels a lot more responsive and gives you a lot more options in combat. Where I feel the game has not really progressed as much as what I'd hope it would have done is in the inventory system, which is still really clumsy and clunky to use. This is very apparent very early on when you've only got 2 weapon slots and you've not really got enough ammo to be able to go through an entire encounter with a single weapon. I simply can't count the number of times that I had to hide behind a corner and then go into my inventory, start dumping weapons and switching weapons on the fly while I am still in combat. Thankfully, later on you do get the ability to unlock additional weapon slots and also have the ability to carry a little bit more ammo, so this definitely becomes less of an issue. However, that doesn't mean that it's not an issue early on, so it kind of is a shame that this has managed to get through into the final release. Another system which has not seen as much improvement as what I would have personally hoped for has got to be the driving. Once again, we are using the old school Halo kind of controls where you point the car in the direction you want to go and you can basically go forwards and backwards. Now, don't get me wrong, this system works fine, it's not too bad. But if you're like me and you don't really play too many games which use these kind of controls, it can feel really fiddly and clunky to get around the map. The one thing that I'm really glad did make the transition over from Borderlands 1, 2 and the pre-sequel over to this has got to be the humour. Once again, the characters are hilarious, they're over the top, the world setting it's all crazy, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it's a lot of fun to run around in and be a part of that world.
And my followers will do anything I ask. Oh, here, quick demo. Hey you, cut off your favorite leg. Oh, Tyrene! I didn't say both. He cut off both. Now he's trying to stand on his stumps. 1 second.
Now obviously the Borderlands games are massive and they take an awful lot of time to get through the whole thing, so this is really just my very early initial impressions and I can't really comment on how the rest of the game is going to be. What I can say is that I'm actually really enjoying this. This is probably my favourite Borderlands experience so far, hands down. And for that reason, I have no issue in recommending that you go out and get this game if you are into Borderlands. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's going to be that one person out there that really like that slow, clunky combat, and they're going to be disappointed with Borderlands 3. But if you're like me, and you like Borderlands 1 and 2, but you didn't like the combat, then this is just a massive step up, so there's really no question if you're going to enjoy it. So I don't really think there's much more to say here. What I will do is I will leave the benchmarks at the end of the video like I said before. There will be a timestamp in the description which will point you directly to it if you want to skip the rest of the video. But for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a couple more minutes of gameplay playing out and say goodbye to you all. So if you are new around here, don't forget to slap that subscribe button and to ding that bell so you get notified of our future uploads. If you like this video then please do like this video. If you disliked it there is a button for that as well. All we ask is that you please do let us know why you disliked it in the comment section below so we can try and improve in future. If you've got any questions, suggestions or feedback, please do leave it in the comment section below. And once again, this has been some gameplay and performance of Borderlands 3 running on the SAPPHIRE PULSE RX 5700 at 1440p using optimized settings. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. From myself and everyone here at the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel, we hope to see you again very soon. So until next time, we'll catch you later. Bye bye.
Don't get between me and my gun, heretic! Time to prove my worth! Come on, get out here!